Today I will teach you Python string methods part 2. In my previous video I have covered Python string methods part 1. You can refer to that video for string methods. Now here we have a method called isalphanumeric. So you can see here isalphanum stands for isalphanumeric. Now this method returns true if all the characters are alphanumeric, meaning alphabet letter A to Z and numbers 0 to 9. Now here you can see example of characters that are not alphanumeric is space, exclamatory, hash, then percentile symbol, then ampersand, then question mark, etc. Now these are the things which are not alphanumeric. So you need to have a string. That string dot is alpha. Now you need to call this method. Then it returns true or false values. For example, and we don't have any parameters to pass for this. Just we are trying to cross verify whether the particular string is holding any alphanumeric characters or not. Now here I have taken Python 123 as a string and I'm storing in y variable, and that string dot is alpha num function I'm calling. Then that is when the result answer is storing in x. So here this is, if I run this, you get the answer as true. Okay. Now if you go for second one, here you can see there is a space inserted, right? So if you call this particular string y dot is alphanumeric, then you are getting false value because here the space is not allowed, and here clearly I mentioned that space is not an alphanumeric character. Okay, so these characters could be alphabet letter and the numbers. Okay, so if I just remove this and I'll run, still you are getting the true value because these characters are there. Still it works with alpha numeric category. Okay, but you're not supposed to give any space, or I put something like exclamatory like 1 2 3 1 2 2 I have given some number, so you can say you are getting false value. Okay, now this is for just verifying whether the particular string is alphanumeric or not. Now coming to second one, we have isalpha method. Now this method returns true if all the characters are alphabet letters, that is A to Z. Example of characters that are not alphabet letters are again space, exclamatory, then hash symbol, then percentile, ampersand, question mark, etc. Then you need to have one string. That string dot is alpha, you need to call the method. Okay, and we don't have any parameters. Now if you can see here, I've taken only a word called Python, and here all are characters that I'm storing in y, and y dot is alpha I'm calling, and it's storing the result in x and printing the text value. So if I run this, so you're getting a true value because only purely characters. Now if you see this one, Python with 1 2 3, and here I mentioned digits are not allowed because only characters we are trying to check. Then run this, you get false value because in alphanumeric we are all getting this as true, but in is alpha only alphabets we are trying to check. Then obviously returns the false value. Okay, now coming to the third one, we have isdigit method. I want to just verify that the given string is holding digits or not. So the isdigit method returns true if all the characters are digits. Otherwise, it returns false value. Now your exponents like power. Okay, we write the power of, okay, that is a superscript, are also considered to be a digit. Now you need to have one string and you apply isdigit method on that. Okay, and there are no parameters values. Okay, now here you can see I've taken 20,001 as a number, but I put in strings, and that I store in y dot isdigit I'm calling, and storing the result in x and printing that value. So you need to just run this and you can see it's a true value because all are digits only. Now coming to the second one, here this is the Unicode representation. You can see \u for the Unicode representation, and for 0 we have \u0030 stands for the Unicode representation for 0. It's a digit, and for the subscript, the exponent of 2, we have 00b2, that is also been a digit. So a dot is digit and b dot is digit we are trying to check. Then just click this, you're getting true value. Okay, so exponential, whatever you're having, that is also been considered as a digit only. Okay, now Python string isnumeric method. The isnumeric method returns true if all the characters are numeric, otherwise false. Exponents like the power and the 3 by 4 are also considered to be numeric values. Now, if you take -1, for example, or 1.5 are not considered numeric values because all the characters in the string must be numeric only. Here you are getting -1, minus symbol. Here you are getting dot. Okay. And the minus and dot are not numeric. Okay. Now, again, you need to take a string and apply isNumeric method on that. And we don't have any values for this method. Now here I'm taking again the same 20,001 and I'm calling a method called isNumeric on this string called y, because y is holding that string. And your result answer is stored in X and printing that. Just click this. You're getting a true value because all are numeric only. Now here if you come to the second one, I have taken the Unicode of 0, Unicode of the exponent value 2. Now here you can see 20 km2. Okay. Then -3 and 4.5. Now if I'm calling a dot is numeric, b dot, so for all 5 variables I'm calling numeric function. Just execute this. So you got the first one and second one as true because this is a Unicode representation and we have clearly mentioned that this has also been a digit or a numeric value. Okay. And now coming to the third one, here this km is not a numeric value and this minus symbol is not numeric value and dot is not numeric value. So the three methods are returning false value. Okay, the other two are true. Now coming to the next one, we have isIdentifier method. Now the isIdentifier method returns true if the string is valid identifier, otherwise false. Now a string is considered a valid identifier if it only contains alphanumeric letters like A to Z and 0 to 9, or it could be underscores. But a valid identifier cannot start with a number or cannot contain any spaces. Okay, so if you're starting with a number, it's not a valid identifier. If you're giving any space in between, the string is also not a valid identifier. So I want to check whatever the string you hold is a valid identifier or not. So you take a string and apply a method called isIdentifier, and we don't have any parameters for that. Now if you can see here, I've taken a string called test and store in y, and the string dot is identifier I'm calling, and the result answer is storing in X. So your answer will be only true or false. So you're printing the text value and just run this and you're getting the true value because it's not starting with number. It is not having the spaces and so. So it's a valid identifier. Now if you take the second one, I have taken a name as a string and store in A, class 001 storing in B, 2do storing in C, and textbook storing in C. So here you are starting with a number. Here you are giving some space. So these two return false value. But here it's not like that. Now these two are called as a valid identifiers. Since you have 001 also no problem. You have the class, the character has been starting here, right? And you can put, if you want, you can put some underscore like this. Still it is a valid. Okay. But this is starting with the digit. This you have some space. So both are false values. Okay. Now coming to another method called islower. That means whatever the string you hold, I want to check whether the particular characters are the small case, that is a lowercase or not. If all characters are lowercase, then you will get true value, otherwise false value. So the islower method returns true if all the characters are in lowercase, otherwise it returns false. Now numbers, symbols, and spaces are not checked. Only alphabetical characters have been checked. So you need to have one string and you need to call one method on that, islower. And islower will not have any parameters. Okay. Now here I've taken a string called Python and store in y variable, and that string, that's the y variable dot islower I'm calling. And here I'm storing the result and printing that. Since you can see this is capital P, okay, then it returns false value because all should be small case. Now if you take the another example, here also the capital is there. Now here if you can see the test is small and you have space, no problem, and you have digits, no problem, because these spaces and the special symbols and the digits are ignored, and only it is going to check this. Since it is in small case, you get true value, and if you go for this again, I is capital, you get false value. So just execute this. So you get first one is false because we have capital letter P and P. Second one you're getting true in spite of you have a space and number also, no problem, but the characters should be small. Then false for this one because I is capital here. Okay, because here clearly I mentioned numbers, symbols, and spaces are not checked. Only alphabetical characters are checked. So that's the reason this is true value. Then we have isupper. That means whatever the string you are holding, that string need to have all capital letters. Then it will return true value. Otherwise, it will return false value. So isupper method returns true if all the characters are in uppercase only. Otherwise, false. Now here also the numbers, symbols, spaces are not allowed. Only alphabetical characters are being tested. Now you need to have one string and you call one method called isupper on that. And here isupper is not holding any parameter values. Now if you take the same string called Python, and here you can see only one P is been capital. This P has been capital, and you are storing the complete Python in y. Then y dot isupper you're calling, you're getting false value because only one has been capital. The other one is others, rest of the things are small. So just run this, you can see it's false. Now if you take this example, this is also leading to false because only P and P is capital. If you take this one, you can see all characters are capital and these are ignored, right? Then here only I is capital, still it will get false. So only this one is being satisfied. You get true value. You can see here the output false, then true and false. Okay. Now coming to the next one, we have isTitle method. Now this method will return true if all words in a text start with uppercase letter and the rest of the word are lowercase letters. Otherwise false. So here all words starting letter need to be uppercase. All words. And the rest of things need to be small. Now here when you get any symbols in between and numbers in between are ignored. So you need to have one string and you call isTitle method on that particular string. Then the parameters values are, there are no parameter values. Now if you see this one, Python P is capital, programming P is capital, I is capital, platform P is capital, independent I is capital. Now this is returning true value because every word you have the first letter is capital, and that is storing in y, and y dot isTitle you are calling, that result is storing next and print. You get true value. You're getting a true value. Now if you take this one, here all are capital, you get the false value. Here this one P is been only one word P is capital, you get true value. Here if you can see the digits are ignored, space is ignored, and test T is capital, you get true value. Then here S is capital, character C is capital, and the rest of things are ignored. Okay, so you get only the first one as false. The rest of the three are getting true value. Just execute that. And you can see only first one is false since all are capital, and the rest of things are in title case. Okay. Now coming to the next one, is space method. Now this method returns true if all the characters in the string are white spaces. White spaces are nothing but your normal space, whatever you're giving is called as white spaces. If you don't have white spaces, then it returns a false value. Now you need to have one string. You need to call a method called isSpace method, and this isSpace method will not have any parameter values, and it will return true or false value. Now if you take this example, I have not written anything. This is an empty string. Okay, I stored that empty string in y. Then y dot ispace I'm calling. Then the result is storing in x. So the result is in true or false value only. So since nothing is there, it's a normal white space. So you get true value. Just execute this. You get a true value. Okay. Now if you take this one, you have one character. So it's not a white space because some character has been existing. So if you apply e space on this string called y, then you get false value. Okay. So if complete empty is there, complete string should be empty. Then only you get true value. Otherwise not. Okay. Now isprintable is another one. Another method. Now this method returns true if all characters are printable, otherwise false. An example of non-printable character can be carriage return and line feed. That means something like new line. Okay, if you write in between of a string, that will not be printed, right? So you take a string and apply isprintable method. It will return true or false value, and you don't have any parameter values for this. Now I have like Python programming is number one hash. One means number one with question mark. Okay, and I'm storing in y, and that y dot is printable I'm calling, and the answer is storing in x. So you get true or false value. So since everything is printable, then you get true value. This one. Now, if you take this example, Python programming, in between I'm giving a new line option /n is number one I'm writing. Now this /n is not a printable character. Okay, you might get in different line as an output, but this is not printable on the printable character. Okay, so if you apply is printable on this particular string, you get a false value. Okay, so just to cross verify which one is printable characters and which one is not printable characters, we can go for is printable method. Now you have isdecimal method. Now this method is also returning true or false value. It returns true if all the characters are decimal values. That means it need to lie between the 0 and 9 digits. This method can also can be used on Unicode objects. So whatever we are saying, that /u and 0030 like that, no, that we can work out. So you have a string, you need to apply isdecimal method on that and return true or false value. And here also no parameters are passed for isdecimal. Now you can see I put a number 786 and I store in y, and y dot isdecimal. Yes, all digits are between 0 and 9. That means digits are between 0 and 9. Every digit, individual digit if I take, then you print that, you get true value. Now if you take this one, Unicode of 0 is this, Unicode of character G is this one. So this G is different. Okay, it's not a digit, right? So this will return true value because 0 is a digit, it works. But capital G, for capital G we are writing this Unicode, then it is not a 0 to 9 digits, right? So it obviously fails. So a dot isdecimal will return true value and b dot isdecimal will return the false value. Okay, you can see this one. Now I have a method called isascii method. This isascii method returns true if all the characters are ASCII characters. Okay, like A to Z. And now you need to take one string, you apply isascii method. Okay, and isascii method will not have any parameters, so I'm writing no. So if I take this one, Python, I've given 456 and I'm storing in text. In text.isascii, I'm calling, then it returns the value. because every character is having its ASCII code. So that's the reason it is giving the answer as true. If any character which is not in ASCII code, then obviously you return the false value. Now if you take one more method called zfill, Z stands for 0. Okay. Now zfill method adds zeros, the 0 digit at the beginning of the string. You need to remember this, beginning of the string, until it reaches the specified length. Okay. Now if the value of the length parameter is less than the length of the string, so no filling is done. Okay, we'll see the example. Then how to apply? So you take a string, you apply zfill method, and you pass the parameter of length, like 30 characters or 40 characters or 10 characters, whatever it is. Then the parameter is what? len is a parameter what you are going to pass here, and it's a required parameter. A number, you need to give a number specifying the desired length of the string. So what should be the length of the string? Now if I take this in double quotes, 44 in double quotes, that is storing in y. So only 2 digits are there. But here what I'm giving, y dot zfill. So what is the length of the particular string should be 10. But here only 2 digits are there. So what about the remaining 8 digits? So before this 44, 8 digits will be filled with zeros like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then the 44 will be given. So that's the reason I have written a description like at the beginning of the string only the zeros will be suffixed. That is prefixed. Okay. Now if I go for the second example, I have taken Python. So totally 2, 4, 6 characters are there. So 4 zeros will be appended here. Then if you take this very big string, but here I'm giving only the size should be, length will be only 10. So if in this case, if you take b.zfill of 10, the 10 length is very small, but now here we have characters, number of characters. So the 0 fill will not work for this. Okay. Suppose it would have been length, it would have been only 5 characters or 6 characters or 8 characters, then the zeros will be filled. So here the length of the particular string is more than your length given in 0 fill. Then this will not work for this one. Now if you take this one 6, so 4 digits, zeros will be prefixed here. If you take this totally 6, again 4 zeros will be prefixed here. But for this, there is no zeros will be prefixed. If I execute this, because you can see only 10 is the length you are going. Okay. Now you can see 4 zeros followed by the text. For this, we don't have any zeros because this is more than your 10. And here also 4 digits you can see because only 6. No? So left hand side only it will be appending. Now that's the reason I have make a note here. If the value of the length parameter, this one, is less than the length of the string, then no filling is done. No filling of zeros is done. Okay. If you want, I will write here. No filling of zeros. Zeros is done. Okay. Then one more method we have starts with. Okay. Now the start with method returns true if the string starts with the specified value, otherwise false. Now the starts with method is holding 3 parameters. One is a string. This is the index, starting index and ending index. Okay. So the value is required attribute. Now the value to check if the string starts with. Now this is a string, actual string, what you want to check. This value parameter can also be a tuple. You can give a tuple also in this particular place. Then the method returns true if the string starts with any of the tuple values, right? So tuple is nothing but a collection of dissimilar elements where you have this sort of brackets. Okay, the parentheses, and the tuple values are immutable. We cannot change the values. Okay, then start is optional. Now start is nothing but an integer, which is an index specifying at which position to start the search. End is also optional, an integer specifying at which position to end the search. Okay, so actually what you are trying to do, we are trying to search the value. Now if I take this a string Python programming is platform independent, and that I'm storing in y, and I'm calling that y dot starts with. And what you want to see that this complete string, whatever is stored in y, should start with a word called Python. So obviously you can see it is starting with Python only here, and that result is storing in x true or false, and you print that. Just execute this to get true value. Suppose if I give small p here, you execute that, you get a false value, because this capital P and small p is very different. Okay, because this is a case sensitive language, so it is not starting with capital P, right? So if I change again to capital P, it returns a true value, right? Now that is one case. Now if I take the same string again in storing in y and starts with, so I want to just check whether the particular string is starting with pro, but I don't want to search from starting. I want to start my search from 7th index number. So if you can see, this P is 0 index, Y is 1 index, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 6 is space. Okay. Then 7 is this capital P. So I want to start my search from here. And I want to end my search in 20 location. Like this is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, and 20 somewhere here. So obviously the PRO is starting at the 7th position. Okay. And you get the true value, right? So you get the true value. Now if I take this one, hi and welcome to Python programming. So you can see, check if the string starts with either hello or hi. So I'm giving starts with. Now this is the tuple. Can you see this? This inside thing, whatever we are giving the tuple. A tuple is holding two elements, two string elements. One is hello and one is hi. So I want to check, like in y, I'm storing what? Hi, welcome to Python programming. In this y, I want to check whether the starting string is either hello or either hi. If either one is matching, then you get a true value. Since this is one is matching right here, you get true value. Just execute, you get true value. If suppose I change this one to h2, then you can see both are not matching. Then you get a false value. Okay, so whenever you give tuple, either one should match. If suppose I give one more, like hi, then execute this. See, again you get true value because either one is matching. Okay. Now coming to the ends with. Now how we are done with the starts with, no? How we are cross verifying the starts with, we can do with ends with also. Okay. Now the ends with method returns true if the string ends with the specified value. Now here I can apply ends with. You need to take a string and apply ends with, and here you need to give value what you want to search for ending, and here you can give starting index and ending index similar to starts with. Okay. Now what are the parameter values? Same parameter values. Value is required. The value to check if the string ends with. Okay. This value parameter can also be a tuple. Then the method returns true if the string ends with any of the tuple values. Any of the tuple values. Just now we have seen, no? Here, this one. Now start is an integer value for specifying the starting index from where you need to search. Then end is the ending index where you need to stop searching. Okay. Now if you take this example, same Python programming is platform independent, and that is storing in y. Y dot ends with now, and I want to just check it is ending with ent. Can you see here it is ending with ent, no? This one. Whole string you need to check. Then you get a real answer in x. Just run this and you get true value. Fine. Now if you can see here, Python programming is platform independent. Okay, that I am storing in y, and y dot ends with. Now I need to just check this is. Okay, and from where I need to search, I need to start my searching from 19 and ends with 21. That means here I need to take n minus 1 to be applied for ending index. So 21 means what? The index is only 20. So if you can see, this is 19 index and this is 20 index. Okay, so now we will see the output, whether it is ending with 19. If we go for 19 to 21, that is 1920, we need to check whether it is ending with is or not. Just click this, you get true value. Okay, suppose if I give, if I give something extra character here, just check you are getting the false value. Okay, so as you're done with starts with, similarly we can go for the end with also, ends with, and here it is going to apply n-1 constant, where if you go 21 here, it will only check till 20. Okay, so these are few methods of strings in Python. So if you like this video, do subscribe, comment, and share it to your friends. Thank you.